up right after the show. Kid you not, Joy, it is literally a month
Yeah, there's
outside.
a flood warning in New York.
We are
it's
in
great.
the middle.
The weather's not great in New York. It's breaking news for everybody.
How does that happen?
Yeah,
it's bad. Anyway, that being said, I'm sure it's bad out there too, so we can all commiserate. What are you and the guys talking about today on the show, Joy?
No, Jenna, it's always sunny in Southern California.
Make us feel better.
There's flood warnings? That's terrifying.
We just got a flash
fishing.
flood warning, for real.
Okay, well, be careful. Coming up on Undisputed, is it panic time for LeBron and the Cavs after getting blown out yesterday? And will Des Bryant get his revenge on the Cowboys? We'll discuss all of that. Plus, Meta World Peace, Brian Cox and Chris Broussard are in studio with us. Undisputed is coming up next. Jenna, back to you guys.
All right, Joy, thank you so much. We are also sticking with the Cavs and the Pacers. LeBron had a triple-double last night, but it wasn't enough. The Pacers just blew him out, 98-80. Low-scoring game. Victor Oladipo with a game-high 32 points for Indiana. It was LeBron's first loss in round one in almost 6 years. It was the Cavs' first round loss in 8 years. And think about this, LeBron's first playoff opening loss ever. So, LeBron, I ask you, are you worried?
I've always stayed even keel with the postseason. That's just, I'm down 0-1 in the first round. I was down 3-1 in the finals. So I'm the last guy to ask about how you're going to feel the next couple of days.
All right, we won't ask that, but CC, I'll ask you, what went wrong for the Cavs yesterday?
Well, for one, the Cavs are one of the most prolific three-point shooting teams in the league, and they have LeBron James. So when you don't have that combination, to me, they didn't have a plan B. They started the game off initially going to Kevin Love. They started off saying that they were going to be playing better defense. Neither one of those things happened. Kevin Love couldn't get a ball to go in, and defensively, they were pathetic in the first quarter. Kyle Korver, they tried to put him in early, get him going. It seems like he's still having some complications from an injury, which I believe is going to hamper not only him, but also the Cavaliers moving forward. After that, they didn't have a plan. There was no set that they could run offensively that they felt good about. There was no change there was no counterpunch from the coaching staff. So for me, they ran into a hot Pacers team that had been playing good basketball. For those who weren't watching the Pacers won the matchup this year against Cleveland 3-1. So right now they are 4-1 over Cleveland in 5 games. So those who have watched that aren't that surprised. They're a good team who has one superstar, and we were able to see that in yesterday's game.
Listen, the LeBron James team's losing a game one is not shocking in general. It's shocking in the first round because it's never happened in the first round. Every NBA Finals LeBron's ever won, his team lost game one. 3 separate series against the Chicago Bulls, 2 with Miami, 1 with Cleveland that they played them. They lost game one in all of those. But we've never seen him, as you mentioned, start an NBA playoffs 0-1. He had won 21 straight first-round games, won 12 straight opening round series, and also won 12 straight games to open a playoffs. So we're not used to that. One of the reasons LeBron's teams had never lost their opening game of the playoffs is LeBron is typically brilliant in the opening game of the playoffs. You're a little more rested. Typically, LeBron had taken off a game or 2 at the end of the year, but always you have 3 or 4 days before the playoffs start. The Cavs had that as well. Barely played Wednesday, nothing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, play Sunday afternoon. And LeBron, that was a C-level game for LeBron. That was about as ineffective as a 24-point, 12-assist triple-double can be. Like, he didn't hit a jump shot. He was not elite defensively in any facet of the game.
No.
And when the Cavs did go on their run in the third quarter, and when they cut it to 7 points, and they cut it to 7 points again in the fourth quarter, LeBron didn't take over the game. Now, I don't expect that to duplicate itself, just like I don't expect the Cavs to shoot 23% from 3 again. But I sit here on this show all the time and talk about how there's no one in the world better at basketball than LeBron James, and that there's no one in the history of the world better at basketball than LeBron James. We can talk about the fact that Jeff Green was 0 for 7 and Kevin Love didn't hit any 2-point shots. LeBron has to be an A-plus player for the Cavs to beat good teams. And he wasn't an A-plus player on Sunday. Like, I hate to be that basic about it, but that plus missing threes, they're not going to beat anybody that matters.
And also, if you're the greatest player ever, we're not going to get into that discussion, thank God. I mean, you're down 20 points pretty much the whole game. Why you take 17 shots? Why didn't you get more shots up than that? Like, that's one part of LeBron's game that I hate, all right? Because the other superstars that we have seen, you know that you're down. You need to score the basketball. They are not going to win with him taking 17 shots. So for me, after you get through halfway through the third quarter, it was time for LeBron to start shooting the ball, and he still didn't do that. He wasn't able to bring them back. And I didn't like the overall attitude. I believe that he should have taken more shots. Kevin Love couldn't make a shot. No one else could make a shot. Shoot the ball. Like, what's wrong with that? And that I do have a problem with.
The one thing I've learned more about NBA postseason from both of you is this ability to flip a switch, that teams that didn't play well defensively will suddenly find it in them to play defensively. The teams that didn't shoot the ball well will suddenly somehow find a way to do it, or the cohesiveness of a team. I didn't see that from this Cavs team. Does that not apply to this team? All along, you guys kept saying, don't worry, they'll get a roster, they'll figure out their defense, they're going to put it all together when the
There's no one watching this playoffs can say, I know what the Cavs are going to do. Yesterday was the first time this roster has ever been on a court together. And George Hill left the game hurt. 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, and Kyle Korver seemed to still have some complications from his foot injury. So anyone else to say, oh, I know what they're going to do, because we've never seen them together.
Well, every other team that we talk about flipping a switch, I mean, right, the key point is it's because we've seen that team in the playoffs for. When people are like the Warriors will be fine, we know Steph's injured, but we've seen that collection of players in the playoffs for. In the Cavs last year, by the way, 29th in defense post All-Star break, saying they'll be fine. We had seen that roster in the playoffs before. Guess who was actually better than you expected yesterday on the Cleveland? Maybe the only player better than you expected. JR. JR, one of the only guys on the team, one of only 3 guys that played significant minutes yesterday because Tristan's out of the rotation, that has been with this team basically the entirety of the time LeBron's been back. Like, so we don't know how George Hill we've seen. We don't know how Rodney Hood is going to respond to this level of pressure. Certainly don't know how Clarkson and Nance are going to respond to this level of pressure. That is a real, legitimate concern. To the criticism CeCe has about LeBron not taking more shots, like, I'm not in the business of asking him to change how he plays in year 15. That was the strategy of I'm going to get guys open for open threes in order to execute a comeback is how they came back against Philly. It's how they came back against the Wizards. It's how they came back against Toronto. It's how they came back against the Knicks with 20-point deficits in all of those games. However, the distinction is those were, and I understand it, regular season games that if it didn't work out, it doesn't work out. The Cavs got to realize you can't. It's one thing to say we're going to flip a switch when the playoffs start. They tried to flip a switch mid-game. You can't punt on the first quarter. That's what they did. They punted on the first quarter of the game. They never recovered from that. They played Indiana even after the first quarter, but they punted on the first quarter, and they got their – I mean, they lost the game in the first 12 minutes of the game.
You heard LeBron say he's not worried. Are you concerned with the rest of this team? Some of them injured, some of them not stepping up. Once again, we don't really have a full roster. Are you concerned heading into the rest of this series?
Yeah, LeBron should be concerned. I'm concerned. I'm concerned they're a championship team. Anytime LeBron doesn't have a championship team, I'm going to be concerned. The other people say, oh, they're going to make it to the finals. I don't see this team making it to the finals. They're not very good defensively. And the other teams out there, can they outscore them? Can they outscore Toronto? They probably can. Philadelphia, I don't know as much, and I don't think they have an answer for Joel Embiid.
Neither one of us think they're going to lose to the Pacers. Chris has been concerned about their ability to make the NBA Finals all year, and I think after the way Philly played in the first game and the way Cleveland played, I think Chris is more confident in Philly than he is with Cleveland. I think, listen, we've never seen LeBron have a must-win game 2 in the first round of the playoffs. We're going to see that Wednesday.
I want you to imagine Houston playing against that Cleveland team or Golden State playing against that team in the finals. All right, there you go, 4-0. That's how Cleveland will lose. So I'm concerned about potentially what could happen. They need to get concerned.
Bam. All right, back to the NFL. The Patriots.
Sound like you said, bang.
No, I didn't. The Patriots are getting the gang back together for practice this week. You know, like all the other teams in the league. They don't take attendance, but if they did, 2 notables absent. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. Gronk reportedly still considering whether or not he's playing in 2018. Nick, what do you make of all this?
Listen, I think Gronk, Chris Canty came out here earlier and said that Gronk is maybe unhappy with his contract, that maybe he's trying to exert a little bit of pressure. I thought this is a good opportunity for him to exert pressure because you've got Brandon Cooks gone, Danny Amendola's gone, Tom Brady's 41. But CeCe, you think Gronk is not sure what he's going to do this year?
Well, only listening to him talk, that's what he said. I like to believe these guys, a lot of times what they say happens to be true. Gronk is not a person that would be able to put some fluff on something. Yes, he's mentioned it, and I'm sure he has real offers as far as being a potential wrestler in the WWE. Like, I believe that's real to him. And, man, this is a brutal game. Like, you can't play this game forever. Everyone has a knockout point or a getting off portion of the, it's time for me to get off and do something else. Yeah, so I believe he's considering it.
Do you think the threat of retirement would make the Patriots more likely to try to entice him to come back?
Absolutely not. Bill Belichick, he's not going to be moved by anything like that. No. I believe he'd let him walk. And because Tom Brady's only making $14 million, so you can only go up so far from the $9 million that Gronk is already making.
It is noteworthy that Gronk gets $250,000 if he shows up to 90% of the offseason. So you skip day one, all of a sudden, it's hard for you to get that $250,000.
All right, guys, go enjoy the weather. It's beautiful out there. We're going to do this again
worried
tomorrow.
about the weather, Jenna. We live in the greatest city in the world. Your gym's inside anyway. What do you care? You don't go outside.
Compare it to joy.
What are you talking
Speaking
about?
of joy, Undisputed starts right now. Have a great show, guys.
Good luck, Shannon.